Hi guys, today I have another video for you, and this is the top most popular openings. In number one, we have the Ruy Lopez. It's a very old, popular, solid opening where we have e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop b5. Here there are two popular moves, knight f6 and a6. A6 is the most popular move, but recently it's been knight f6 has gained popularity because of its solid defense and against white's plans, and it ends up in a draw. So there are many drawing lines, for example, castles. We have knight takes c4, rook e1, knight d6. We can go for d4 also. This is a line, but everyone here plays takes, and then we have bishop e7 here, bishop f1, and this position is already quite drawish, and these positions usually just there isn't much for. Even here, this is a very popular drawing line where after this knight b4 and takes. There are many popular games which end in a draw. So if you want to draw your game, this is probably one of the good options for you. So like, there have been so many games that just repeats itself like this, and it's just a draw. And yeah, the other variation there is a6, after which white can just play. Everyone usually plays bishop a4, but this is also quite logical. Except don't take the pawn here. This isn't free. It's a common opening trap where you have queen d4 attacking the pawn and the knight. And well, opening trap in the sense, okay, it's gonna be a drawish kind of position. Still, your king can castle. I think black has a more playable position, but no one's better here. It's just clearly a draw. But usually white fights for more, and he just castles here d3 and have a very closed setup where actually knights tend to be better. And for many years, even engines used to prefer this. Nowadays, engines realize that actually bishop a4 is the best move, and we have normal lines continuing with knight here, castling. And we have actually a Marshall setup with black. And well, that goes like this, and here usually they play d6. However, if black castles and white plays c3, we have the Marshall here, and this is a very complicated kind of position. Well, not don't take here. We have knight takes, rook takes, and c6. This is a very complicated position with where black really has compensation for that pawn that he's down for with a nice attack, and there are just purely drawing lines. This is just like around 70% of the games ends up in a draw due to probably repetition or something, where black goes for attack but can't finish white off because of the resourceful defenses that he has, so therefore it just ends up in a perpetual repetition. But this is if your opponent's not prepared, the Marshall can be a very strong opening with the black pieces, or a response to white's Ruy Lopez. I'll be making another video for the most popular black openings. For now, I'm just making for the white opening. So the next one we have on our list is the Italian game. It goes with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop c4. Here, black has two options. Here, bishop c5 is an option, and knight f6. Knight f6 is interesting. These days, grandmasters just play d3, and we have the normal Italian position. We won't go that much in depth, as this is just a top 10 video. Knight g5, the idea is this is the fried liver attack. Here black has usually plays d5, but there are other moves like bishop c5 is an example, and also b5. These are the most common moves played by black in this position. So let's start with, let's say, bishop here, and then we have a very double-edged position here. If you play, the idea is if you play knight here and then there's bishop f2, this is the idea, and if you take, then there's knight takes e4 and your queen is coming, and like, okay, if black knows how to play, but if he plays something this down already, like this position is quite disturbing, the least, for white to have his. If this is played, then you can just take. So king e1, and well, you're still gonna take, and this position is it's equalish in terms of material. Well, black is a pawn up, but white is kind of worse in this position because white doesn't have any compensation because his king can't castle anymore, and black has just clearly snatched a pawn from white and is better here. That's why you need to know these lines, and I'll make another video on this variation that black plays. However, I don't even recommend going for this knight g5 line, not because of this variation. This can be dealt with if you can play bishop takes, and we have some king f8 is usually not played because king e7 is more resourceful, and if you played bishop d5, we have d6 and c3. You can play normally and it's fine. Bishop takes is probably the best move. However, d5 is the major problem. Even b5 is also quite an interesting move. So bishop takes d5, and people try for this kind of gambit. So like taking can be tempting, but bishop d7, and well, black has quite nice central control, and though he's in exchange down here, there can be some tricks. Usually here we just take, and we have an interesting position, or we can just play this and then we can play b5. This is another move order difference. b5 in itself might not be the best, but I think d5 and then b5 is way better for black. And here black can, white's best move is definitely to retreat, because okay, he's gonna lose this pawn, but he's not gonna be attacked for a tempo, and now white actually gets a tempo. And here I would say now it's better-ish for white. He has a nice pin. This knight's kind of misplaced here. It's quite double-edged. There's definitely white is up material, so if he can even the position, he would definitely be in favor over here. The reason why I don't recommend is mainly because of knight a5, and it's too much counterplay. Though you win though you win a pawn, like he has like bishop h6, and After knight f3, bishop d6 is also an idea, and or even e4 here. And after knight e5, bishop d6, d4, and well, the thing is, just black has so much counterplay for like most of his pieces are just attacking here, and it's just not enough for white. White's underdeveloped and not attacking, and I think it, for at least for me personally, it's quite difficult to play as white in this position. You can be very hopeful if your opponent plays knight takes, because here fight liver attack is usually very complicated for the black player, and white is usually winning at least more than 50% or 60% of the games here, even in top grandmaster level. So that's why you don't see people playing knight g5 because of knight a5 ideas, and that's like very advantageous for black in the top level. However, whenever knight d5 was played, the sacrifice was accepted with king takes f7. Then usually even in the top level, even white used to have a better edge in those situations. If you're a beginner, that would be the best, because usually your opponent doesn't see stuff and you just get a huge advantage. The next opening would be the Queen's Gambit, so it's d4, d5, c4. There is the accepted variation, after which you can play e3 and grab this pawn, knight c3, knight f3. It's a very simple, nice structure. Even you can go for e4, but then after this we have c5 or e5. There are intuitive chances here. Yeah, and there's the declined variation, after which you can it's a very normal position, bishop g5, bishop f4, c takes. There's so many different moves and variations. This is probably like one of the most popular lines. And we have v3, and yeah, just bishop d3, knight f3. It's very, very normal. Okay, next we have the English opening. So here this is just c4, and it's a very interesting opening where you fianchetto your bishop and castle, and you probably aim for double fianchetto sometimes. And there are in many ways we can just transpose into a Catalan variation of the Queen's Gambit. So this is usually the English opening just turns into a Queen's Gambit later in the later stages. There are other variations, can be the Botvinnik system, where actually white just plays d3 and aims for this e4 kind of solid structure where he just creates this blockade. So that's popularized by Botvinnik, former world champion, many years ago. Okay, the next popular opening is the Reti, also known as the King's Indian. This opening also can transpose into English, can transpose into the Queen's Gambit, the Catalan. It's very flexible, and it can also transpose into the King's Indian attack, which is what I'm gonna be showing you right now. So this is the King's Indian attack where he castles, and now the idea is to play e4 and launch knight d2 and e4, and the idea is to launch a kingside attack with probably, even if you can probably bring the knight to h2, and all you're trying to do is push all your pawns, like create a pawn storm when black castles kingside. So he gets a nice attacking position. I will make another video on each of these openings to analyze them in depth, but since this is just a list, we're gonna keep moving. So next on our list we have the Scotch game, just very popular, played even by Magnus Carlsen, Hikaru. It's a very interesting opening where black can play for black and white have very dynamic plays here, and here the most popular move is knight, then we take, b takes, and e5. It's a very complicated line played in top level chess, even in the amateur level, and we have knight e5 c4 and a bishop a6 just spinning. And there's a game I think played by Nihal Siren in the Grand Prix in 2017 or 18, and it was a blitz game, and he was playing against a strong Russian grandmaster. He's playing the white pieces, and I think he won the game playing this opening. So I highly recommend going and checking that game out. Another variation could be the bishop c4, the gambiting variation, where after he takes, you just play bishop c4, and you temporarily sacrifice this pawn for activity to get lead in development. So when he plays knight f6, you play e5, d5, takes. Well, you can't take here. Taking probably won't be the best. This is another variation of the Italian game. Here it just doesn't work because you're very underdeveloped. Your king isn't castled, and black has immense compensation with these very strong pawns, like literally dominating the center. And if you grab here, this is just completely fine. And well, positionally speaking, I think black is doing fantastic here. I would rather recommend playing bishop b5, pinning the knight to the king, and now the knight would move, and we would have a very normal position here. Okay, next we have on our list is the four knights opening: e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, knight c3, knight f6. This is usually played in the intermediate and beginners level, where they just bring out their knights like this. It's not often seen at the top level. However, from time to time we see it. So we see this opening. Yeah, so this is very interesting. And we have ideas just bishop b5, castling, kingside, d3, and just simple developing moves, where white and black are just staying solid here with nearly 56 to 57% of the games being draws in this position after, like, for example, d4. Next on our list we have Catalan opening. So this is a variation of the Queen's Gambit, where black sacrifices a pawn, and we have a very nice. So the black captures a pawn, and white sacrifices the c4 pawn for development on the queen side. So he fianchettos his bishop, gets his king to safety. What white wants to do is gain the center and have a very pleasant position, and here black just tries to keep this pawn, and white can just sacrifice it and have, though he's down a pawn, he has nice development, a very safe king, and quite some compensation, can bring the rook. This bishop's very bad, this diagonal's open. White has definitely some compensation for the pawn. Okay, so let's go to the next opening. It's the London system. So here we have, I'm sorry, one sec. Yeah, so here we have d4, d5, bishop f4, knight f6, and it's a very popular attacking opening, where white can play c5 here, bishop d6 here. Sometimes c6 is also played. Bishop e7, knight d7. There are a lot of continuations, the most popular being c5, after which you form the triangle, complete the pawn structure. And we have a normal game here with bishop d3. Your idea is just to place the knight this structure where you have the bishop on d3, knight on d2, knight on f3, bishop on f4, and you have the triangular pyramid structure. White here, even he can keep his king in the center. Usually he tries for attacks with h3, knight f3, and g4. This is very common and aggressive. Magnus Carlsen usually doesn't like playing the knight. He likes playing just the pawns and getting the bishop on b5, and actually even trading it when if c5, knight c6 is played, to have a close position where knights usually do better than bishops. And finally we have the Nimzo Larsen. This isn't that popular these days, but these days in classical chess, but is played a lot in blitz. So Nimzo and the London system, these are more prominent in the blitz games rather than the classical games. And we have the main line here with e4, b3 and d5, bishop b2, e5, e3, knight c6, and bishop b5 pinning. Actually now the pawn is under attack, so the black just defends with the bishop. And now here white plays f4, challenging. Actually here it's very theoretical, this position, with where black has compensation for the probably not enough compensation, but some compensation for the missing rook, as his king is quite misplaced here. If black could possibly generate counterplay. Here white can try this, but usually it's not a good idea because you just get attacked, and if you take, it's very difficult. And if you don't play knight there and you take, then it's quite obvious you also hang your rook. And we have a playable position for both sides, but definitely I think black is doing better here as is now the knight's threatened. The king might have to move to protect the knight, and yeah, black can just play bishop d7 and castle queenside and have a comfortable position. So these positions are quite difficult to play. f6 is also quite a popular move, and then a lot of games just transpose. If there's e4 and then c4, we have a very common Nimzo game here, where it's kind of like the Queen's Gambit. You can also many times transpose to the Queen's Gambit. Now I'll be doing a video on these openings. So those were your top 10 most popular openings. Hope to see you next time.